Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. That's me. I'll be dressed a little bit like this for the show. Please come out to support. It sounded funny at the time in Dearborn, December the 17th, 2022. All right. So here's the deal. I just got to get this straight. It's all right. Because I can't keep bending this way. So look, this show is going to be amazing. I'm being brought there by my brother, Big Fresh, and everybody in the Hammertrack area. My main man, Ishmael, and his lovely queen. Rafiki's going to be there. This is going to be an amazing show. It's going to be intimate. It's going to be funny. Years ago, I did something called Love Supreme and Anatomy of Gratitude, which was a true tribute to John Coltrane through comedy. Now we have this thing. We got so many things to talk about: the pandemic, the elections, Trump. Listen, brothers and sisters, this is the time. We're going to be doing a show. Yeah, it is. It's called It Sounded Funny at the Time. Dearborn, Michigan, December the 17th. Listen, I hope you guys attend. I'm looking forward to coming back to the Dearborn area and just being amongst my brothers and sisters. Come on out. $20 if you get your tickets early. $25 you get them late. And if you don't like Muslims, you don't get a ticket at all. Listen, see you there. I won't see you. No matter, because we're going to have an epic time. With your moms. It sounded funny at the time. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. This is me, your host, Preacher Moss, the host of the SOS. You are in the right place. It is Thursday. We have made another week. At least, I want to say we made at least another shout-out show week because we only go from Monday to Thursday. But listen, I hope you're feeling good. We have a nice topic I want to talk about today, which is basically I'm going to talk to you about engaging your superpowers. Now, we're going to have a conversation about what superpowers are. We're going to talk about how you engage them as well. Now, I want to give a shout out to some people that they need a little love, a little dua, some prayers. I want to make sure we give a shout out to John Adams' mother, Miss Mary Adams, down in Birmingham, Alabama, and we'll give a shout out to our good brother Doug Robinson, his mother, Carol Slocum, over in Texas. We hope that these women are doing better. Make sure we got duas on the way in the pipeline as well, brothers and sisters. I just want to say over the last 2 months, man, I've really been wanting to talk about this whole idea. We call it superpowers. I was reminded of this at a Juma recently. Any imam at the time was talking about, what's your superpower? Mine is more like engaging it. But he was asking, what's your superpower? Of course, it's rhetorical because it was at Juma. But he made some really, really good points. And I went back into some of my old notes of what I used to do when I was out in Long Beach. I have 2 sets of notebooks. One is when I was out in Long Beach trying to get my comedy career started. And one was when I was in Milwaukee trying to get my comedy started. And, it was, of course, they're different because Milwaukee was the first stop and then LA was the second one. But I think it was really, really interesting to poke fun at some of the things I had written in those books, but also pull out some of the gems that I still work with today, that are still important with me today. I'm going to talk about some aspects of having your circle of influence, what we call a COI, and we're going to talk about superpowers today. We're going to be doing that. So I think we're going to end a little bit early. So I'm going to ask Satana, we might just stop at like 26 and not do our ad today. But if we're going to do it, I'll take a break. You know how we're going to do it. So listen, don't move. This is going to be a great show. We're going to be talking about engaging your superpower. I'm Preacher Mars here on the SOS. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're about to get started. Before we do, we have to recognize our stars in the building, better known as the Shout Out Show family, the Shout Out Show soldiers. Let's get them in here. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to my dietitian and craft services director. That will be Sister Reed. Sister Reed, glad to have you. Peace and blessing to you, the family. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to you. You know, we always appreciate you. Thank you for joining us today. Next up, Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our Canadian envoy to the show, Mr. Altaf Rashid. What's going on, beloved? Checking in all the way from Toronto, Ontario. We appreciate you, sir. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you. Next up, we got Big Brother Bilal Salahuddin, and by default, his queen, Sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Ak. Thank you so much for tuning in. Next up, all right. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We call him Johnny L. Thomas, but I call him JT. What's going on, Little Lock? Good to see you in the house today, man. Let me know how Aunt Mamie is doing. I heard that her surgery went well, but please let me know. Pray anyway that her recovery is swift and complete. All right. Next up, my main man, Eric Carter. What's going on, beloved? Nice to see you in the house. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Man, it's good to see you in the building. I hope, I hope this topic kind of benefits us all. And okay, and we got to check in all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Sister Ika. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you on the show. And of course, we can't get this thing started without engineer, without our audio and video engineer. That would be Sister Satana Whitfield, better known as the exec producer of the Shout Out Show. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. She says, welcome, SOS family. And we want to give her a shout out for passing her Arabic. Is it Quranic reading, literacy, Arabic, is all of that. Everything I said she did, I can't do. So we're going to give a shout out. She's been studying. She's been up at 6:30 in the morning. Like she ain't had nothing else to do, but she's trying to get that information, get close to that Quran. I salute you with both hands, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And she made time to make sure she was on the show, to make sure the show ran smoothly. Okay. So let me start with a story. This starts when I'm in high school. I'm in the military. I went to military school, as you guys know. Gunny Sergeant, 32-year Gunny Sergeant, Marine. His name was Robert Sharp. We call him Sergeant Sharp, Sergeant Robert Sharp. And he tells this story about, it's an example of superpower. He tells this story. I don't know how true it is, but it's a very, very powerful story. He tells a story of being over in Vietnam. And he realizes with this small group, and one of the persons was Vietnamese soldier, he realizes that they've stumbled upon a compound that has a lot of enemy soldiers. Like they are looking like, wow, we thought it might be one or two. They're running recon. And they realize that they have limited artillery. You know, to shoot a gun would basically alert everybody that you're there. It's too many people. They don't have enough folks. And he tells this story of the person who's with them because they're trying to figure out how are we going to attack our enemies. One person's like, well, we'll radio for something. They go, no, that won't work. He said, we'll run down. He said, that won't work. So the Vietnamese person that was with them is, I guess, the scout. He just takes off running, and they don't know where he's going or whatever. He comes back and says, let's go. And they're like, what do you mean, let's go? He said, let's go. Let's get out of here. And he asked him, how could you just leave knowing that these enemies? How did you handle it? And this guy's superpower was patience. He said, according to Sergeant Sharp, he said what he did was he poisoned the livestock that the enemies ate. That he poisoned the livestock. That he took poison that while the cows would survive, the human beings would survive. He said he poisoned the water around the well and then he left. And his superpower was patience. Not aggression, not overall intelligence, but patience. Understanding that in the larger scope, while they may get 1 or 2 or 10 people, there was a compound of 300. And Sergeant Sharp tells the story of that compound not even surviving like a month. And that was one of the stories he told. And it's a little bit graphic, but it does emphasize that in times of crisis, you must employ critical thinking. So sometimes when we engage our superpowers, it may be the superpower you think you have, but it's actually the one that's going to lead you to the one you need. Sergeant Sharp told me that story when I was in ninth grade, and I remember it over and over and over and over again. Not that I wanted to poison anybody, anything like that, because he was in a state of war, so we can take it for what it is. But a lot of times you start thinking about people who engage this superpower. One of the greatest stories in the Bible, in the Quran, is the story of Dawood, the story of David and his fight against Goliath. And we talk about this, about him and the rocks and the slinging, and these things are really, really interesting things. But I read a book by Malcolm Gladwell. And I don't know if you ever read Malcolm Gladwell, but the book is called David and Goliath. And what Malcolm Gladwell did was kind of, in a little bit, take the narrative of David and Goliath and he deconstructed it, whereby you get to see what people's superpowers were. So you all know the story of David and Goliath, the slingshot, the rock, he kills him. But in the book by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about the fact that David understood warfare. He understood warfare. That the Goliath, this big behemoth of a man, had mobility problems. To be that big, he couldn't move that fast. And even more so, the closer and closer and closer you got to him, the more ineffective his warfare was. If a sword is out to here and you get up underneath it, you've got problems. And he said the scope of David was understanding a lot of things about the history of people like Goliath. Things like they had poor vision, like you had to be very close to them for them to see where the target was. And it went on and on and on and on. My brothers and sisters, I employ us to engage your superpower. While you're listening to me, start thinking maybe right now what you think your superpower is. You know, oftentimes, superpowers are realized because you may have a certain way of doing something, and that way may work and may be proficient, but there may be a situation scenario that calls for something different. That while you have this beautiful skill, it calls something different, if you will. And that's what I'm talking about today. That superpower, that thing that you didn't necessarily think you had, but when you grow down deeper, you reach for it, you got to reach even deeper to pull that thing up. All the people behind me, that's Aquaman and Flash Gordon and Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman, I don't know the last two. All of them and their superpowers are based on what? Need and dealing with emergencies, dealing with crisis, dealing with stark situations. Well, guess what? A lot of us has that same superpower, but sometimes we have it in other ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be in crisis. I found one of my superpowers was I learned over a period of time how to grow patience, how to be patient. And I'm going to tell you where it came from. One of my superpowers was I used to have all these great ideas, and they would never work for myself, but they work for other people. So I'd be able to put other people in good positions, good jobs or good gigs or whatever. And, you know, they do well, but I put it in. And what I learned with this particular superpower, I get frustrated. And the thing that came out of it was the superpower that I really needed was patience. That there was a blessing in helping these people because the things that I was giving them, I couldn't use for myself. They didn't fit my DNA. They didn't fit my particular profile or my plan. But the patience is being able to grow these ideas. You guys in the chat, you know, if you have your superpower, tell me what you think your superpower is. Reed, what's your superpower? Alta, what's your superpower? Sister Satana's superpower is waking up at 6:30 in the morning to study Arabic. God bless her. All right. JT, your superpower. Brother Eric, Sister Ika, what is your superpower? And when I think about this even more, I'm telling people to engage it because there's a thing that says if you're not going to engage your superpower, guess what can happen? You could lose it. You could lose it. Not to say that superpowers are situational, but a lot of times they are situational. The ability to help somebody sometimes it may not be there tomorrow. You don't necessarily want the ability to help somebody every day. Well, you got to roll up your sleeve and help somebody. Your job or your charge in life is not to save everybody. It's that when that one or two people come your way, you are able to do something. But some of our superpowers is the fact that we love hard. And when I say we love hard, it means that we want the best for people, even when they don't want the best for themselves. Again, that could be a superpower that leads you to the next superpower, which is what? Discernment. Being able to look at different things and say, I'm not going to invest here. I can't invest that way. I can't invest the way I did the last time. But pretty much very, very important. Islam has its own group of superpowers. And they're called the 99 attributes of Allah. These are superpowers. This is the way I look at them. You the 99. I'm not going to sing the song like the kids. But I always looked at, my Muslim joint, my Muslim name, Ghaffar, Al-Ghaffar, which is the forgiver. And it's funny that I chose that was given to me as a name, and I held on to it because I do have a hard time forgiving sometimes if the wound is deep. You know what I'm saying? If you did me wrong, I forgive you, but it's not like it's the thing we can go back to being the way we were. And I found in that space that particular superpower I saw around people, and it affected me in a way whereby you talk about mercy and compassion. It made it easier for me to forgive other folks when I started thinking about all the things that I do in my life that aren't right, that don't work out. Who forgives me? So sometimes you got to realize where your superpowers come from. Like I said, 90 attributes is one, but I think also too, and this is what I'm going to emphasize. JT says patience is his superpower. I will agree. JT is an extremely patient person. He's been patient with me for years. But I found gratitude to be an extremely important superpower. Listening over the years has become a really good superpower, meaning that the ability to shut up and not just hear what people are saying, but see how they express their intention. Because people can talk all the time, but a lot of times you're quiet and you're focused. You can hear their intention and how they express themselves, even in body language. When people get excited about something, when people are upset about something, you never see it about body language. It's almost like music, if you will. There's some people that can hear music when a chord is played or a note is played. There are some people who could see music. And that's the thing that I've been trying to work on for years, but it's important. So we're going to put somebody on the spot today. Satana, come on in today. Satana want to come in today. Satana is superpower. She thinks she's invisible. Let's encourage her to come in, everybody. Come on, Satana. Satana. Peer pressure. Satana. You're not going to come in? Come on in, Satana. We haven't seen her in a month of Sundays. There she is.
Wow.
You pass a Quran test and then you don't know us.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sister Tana, what do you feel is one of your superpowers?
Definitely listening.
Not listening?
Yeah, certainly.
What type of listener are you?
Are
you an empathetic listener?
I am empathetic. I do try to not be because some people listen and it's like they want to solve everything.
Right.
I've come away from that because someone says, ironically says, you're not a superhero, right? You're not Superwoman, so why are you trying to solve everyone's problems, right?
Right.
So I do listen and I do try and be this empathetic listener and just have empathy again for the person and Just let them know that everything will be good.
I mean,
Yeah.
and anybody could jump in.
Hmm.
I find that the type of listener I am, I'm a pattern listener.
A pattern listener. What is
I'm a
that?
pattern listener. Like when people are talking to me,
Hmm.
their logic falls into certain patterns. Like I would listen to you, and then I re-listen, I play back what you said, and it falls into a pattern. It helps me understand people logic. And it's a big part about how I learn to forgive people sometimes.
Do you mean just like replaying what they said,
I'll replay
or
what they said, and I
uh,
will, yeah,
say it in a different way?
I hear it in a different way.
You hear it in a different, but does it come out in a different way when you play it back to them? Is it in a different
Um,
way?
when they ask, sometimes it does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it does.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes you feel like, listen, what you said to me sounds like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How you said it to me, really, it sounded this way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're able to pick up a pattern. Um, when I say a pattern, it's like, the beginning, middle, end.
Sure.
What's the conflict? Is there a resolution? Almost like screenwriting.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people are
Mm-hmm.
talking to me, I tend to see things, probably like you too. I tend to see things in pictures. So when people say things to me, I'm like, I'm rewinding and I'll ask questions like, where did this happen? What part of the day? Even sometimes like, what were you wearing? You'll go through that sometimes because it's like, what is this whole narrative that you're giving me? So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you'll find that the narrative is not the problem. The problem is it's just too much narrative.
Yeah, and sometimes that may even help people get through, or make decisions, or see it in a different light, right? Um, because of course that listening skill, right? You hear it, and like I said, I'm empathetic, and sometimes I try not to like solve the problem, but
Right.
sometimes if you I don't want to say regurgitate it, but if you replay it back in another um in another way, it might give people some light. Um,
It
you
also
know,
gives you information whether you really want to engage in this situation. Like, do you really want to be a part of this?
yeah,
Like, I'm hearing it. Like, maybe I should just leave
maybe
now.
I should just walk away.
It is like that. One
Right.
of the best superpowers I watched, and I learned later in life, is with children. And
Mm,
what that superpower is, make yourself small.
sure.
When you're talking to children, make yourself
Sure.
small.
Mm,
Um, when a child is small, get down on your knees or bend down and talk to them at that level
mm,
so that they feel comfortable.
mm-hmm.
And I found that through my own experiences, it is amazing what it does for a child self-confident.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
their assuredness. And this is coming from, we used to do basketball camps and stuff like that. Now, here's the crazy part. We would deal with professional basketball players,
Mm,
and I would watch Reggie, may Allah be pleased with him, sit down and talk. He would sit them down on the bench and he would talk to them just like that. It was just like he was talking to a kid. They were
yeah.
like, yes, coach, no, coach, just go to and run through a brick wall for him. So
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. We got Altov. Altov had something. What we got, Altov?
Alton.
Sharing his
Alton
superpower.
says, let's see. My superpower is listening as well. Sister Suchana, you have an Arabic word of the day for us.
Oh, you've been challenged. Yes,
What?
that's it.
So,
Go ahead, Altov. The Canadian envoy strikes. Come on,
what?
Altov.
Alto, look at you. So, Alto, what I'm doing is taking Tajweed, and so that is Quranic reading. So of course I'm not doing any speaking when I'm having this conversational.
Just, just,
Um,
just one,
you
one
know,
word. One
just
word.
one word.
Inspire us.
Tajweed.
Tajweed. No, give us another word. Inspire us. You have uninspired me. I'm not ready for Tajweed. My word is and maybe this might be a superpower for a lot of people. Uh, unseen.
I'm seeing
Ghaib.
Ghaib, right? Ghaib.
Ghaib.
Mm-hmm.
Big
Yeah,
fan of unseen.
yeah, yeah, for
Big
sure,
fan of the unseen.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
I draw a lot of that. Um, the unseen makes you feel like hey man, whatever happened, it could be worse, and because of
There's,
that, we can make it better.
yeah, because there's so much that happens in that space,
Yes,
right?
yes,
That we don't know about, and that it's, as we say, it's all under Allah, God's control,
hmm
and we're like, how did that happen, or how did this person or this situation get in my path, right? And it's like, and
right.
there's and that to me is like always a way to, you'll just have these things that happen. It's like, how did that happen? You try and like trace back the path, like how did that happen? And there's no way that
There's no
man
way
could
you
have
can explain.
could have
I'll give you a
actually
prime example.
scheduled that. Yeah. Hmm.
I'll give you a prime example. I
Yeah.
was out running. Maybe about a. I made this part of a coupon that I gave. I was out running, and it's early in the morning. It was dark. It been raining a little bit, and I'm on the side of the road. I'm running, and it's dark, and I trip over a branch.
Mm.
Like I take a header, bam, and I got up and I did the normal thing that men do. You start cussing out the branch,
Sure.
and then I started thinking, what are the possibilities that I would trip over this branch? What happened for this? Because there's no trees around, right? It's just this lone branch. What are the possibilities that you would run and in the space of right here in the
Hmm.
whole universe, you would trip over the branch,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and at the same time, overlook that this is a phenomenon. Not like it's nothing, but it's just the idea of place that the branch has been laying there for God knows how long.
Hmm.
Here you come, not looking, tripping over, and I'm like, you can't even take in the fact that you can't explain it.
You can't
So after,
explain
of
it.
course, I go through this whole thing, and I stop and I go, you know what? Outside of me tripping over this branch, I can't tell you anything about this branch.
Right. And the unseen could be that, those few minutes that you tripped over that branch, there may have been an accident up the road, right?
Right.
By the time you got into your car, it could have been an accident. But that branch, like, held you there for that much time that you did not get into that accident. So
Yeah.
that's the unseen, right?
A lot of us
So,
will get mad about being late someplace in the
sure.
car, and you
Right.
drive down the road, and it's like a terrible
It's
accident. It's like, if
terrible.
you'd have been on
Right.
time, that might have been
That
you.
might have been happened. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's
Yeah.
that's the way I kind of I think the other superpower that I do engage, and I encourage everybody, if you already don't think about it, it's just appreciation.
Mm.
It's just
Hmm.
appreciation.
Yeah.
That's really the easiest superpower that you can have. Just
Hmm.
appreciate. Don't explain it. Say thank you. I'm grateful, but don't try to explain it.
Hmm.
No, don't try to redress what your blessing is. It
Right.
is what it is.
Yeah. Right.
So look, everybody, that's
That's
our
right.
show today, talking about um engaging your superpower. I'm gonna encourage everybody to please do that. You guys have been great. Sister Satana, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know we had to
Absolutely.
pull
Absolutely.
you in, but we had to that's how I do pull you in, but we
All right.
appreciate you and congratulations again on your Arabic test. You know,
Thank you. Thank you. I have a second half of reading tonight. So,
okay, so she's got to go, everybody. That's
yeah.
what I tell
So,
us. My other superpower is I know when to leave. All right, so listen, that's a
Assalamu
shout
alaikum.
out show. I'm Preacher Moss. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Take care.